Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, your host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, helping you win in any marketplace. That's our goal, helping you as a consumer advocate. We want you to think about our show as the hub of your financial, your business wheel. You know, each one of those spokes extending out, representing as one of our expert contributors, our on-air experts. We have all types of great attorneys, CPAs, financial advisors, home service providers associated with the show, and they come on the show and they talk about their consumer advocate tips, pro tips, and ways to help you save time and money when it comes to, you know, these different areas of business and life. You know, we weren't taught this stuff in school, so we kind of learn it through our adult sessions, and, you know, we can help you do that, help you save time and money with that. So reach out to the hotline, 813-917-1894. Just call or text the hotline, 813-917-1894, online at consumerqb.com. Attorney Millicent Athanason in studio here. Attorney Millicent Athanason coming up in just a moment. Before we do, we're going to talk about, by the way, some of the new laws that have just recently come into effect here in the state of Florida. We're going to talk about personal injury law as well as family law with Attorney Milly coming up in just a moment. Before we do, we always like to feature our listings live on air. 37351 Neighbors Path, Zephyr Hills. This is one of our hot real estate listings. And if you list with the Platinum MVP team, you get featured in a lot of ways no other real estate company can offer for you. We got almost 3,500 square feet here at Neighbors Path, Zephyr Hills. It's a beautiful Pasco County. Get a mother-in-law suite. Get a large yard, over an acre of land, 1.2 acres. 6 bedrooms, 4.5 bath, split floor plan, stone countertops, tile floors, updated kitchen. Beautiful property right here in Pasco County at 37351 Neighbors Path, Zephyr Hills, Florida. One of our hot real estate listings from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. And we got 13468 Haverhill Drive, Spring Hill. This is another home that's just a 2-story beauty right here in a gated community. It's on Haverhill Drive, Spring Hill, 2,540 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bath. You got a 2-story home, low HOA fees. You've got stainless steel appliances, community pools, playgrounds, fitness center at 13468 Haverhill Drive, Spring Hill, Florida. And you can see all of our real estate listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
God makes 5'9"
All right, we got attorney Milly Athanason in the house, back in studio. Thanks for coming in, Milly.
Oh, thank you for having me, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I can't believe it's already here.
I know. 2022 just breezed by.
It does. Flies by, and here we are in 23. The Jordan year, they're calling it, I guess.
Yeah.
His numbered 23, you know, so. Michael Jordan, back in the day. I like watching that series. You ever check that series out, The Final Dance, The Last Dance?
No, I didn't.
It's pretty cool, like behind the scenes in the locker rooms and all that stuff, But anyhow, let's talk about some new laws happening in law and the legal side. So you had mentioned something about the AOB is going away.
Oh, yes. They did away. They voted in December. It went into effect January 1st. The assignment of benefits clause is now eliminated. So what that means is that when you have property damage, let's say from a hurricane or wind damage or whatever the situation is, and you have contractors come out to do the repairs, what they would normally do is have you sign what's called an assignment of benefits form so that the insurance company would pay the contractor or the provider the money directly and not the insured. Okay, well, they did away with that, and now it's going to the insured, because what was happening is people were hiring companies, and then the work was getting subbed out to other people, and the work was being done in a substandard fashion.
Right.
And many insureds were feeling helpless and powerless because now they're having to take money out of their own pocket because the insurance company is saying, well, wait a minute, we've already paid for it.
Right.
If it's bad work, that isn't our problem.
Wait. You mean there's shady contractors out there that would do that?
No.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so that's what's going on. So now they've done away with that. So now the insurance companies are going to be cutting the checks to the insured.
Okay.
So now it puts more burden on the homeowner, obviously, to make sure that they contract with appropriate people.
Right.
So you really, my tip for that is to really do your homework.
Yeah.
And make sure who you're hiring is legit, that you've seen other work that they've done. You've
Right.
talked to people that you're satisfied with what you've seen.
Yes.
Do a little background investigation to see what they're like. Because if not, the insurance company is not going to pay twice. They're putting kind of the burden on you
Right.
as the homeowner to say, hey, make sure that you do this right.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's inspected. That there's different ways. So I want to dive a little bit deeper on that. I want to ask you how. The advice is, let's make sure that we pick the right contractor. How do you do that? Right? You mentioned a few ways. Is there a state site that we're looking at? Are we supposed to look at sunbiz.org?
You can look at sunbiz.org. I mean, the county has certain contractors that they do work, that do work for them. You can look at that.
So call the county and say, hey, do you have any recommendations? Because the county has probably a good feel for who's doing good.
Yeah, because they're doing the inspections, right?
Right.
To pass them. So you can call and try to get. And they, I know Pinellas County prints out a book. I want to say it's twice a year or so, they print out a green book that has these listings of different contractors that they approve and that you can call. Now, that isn't to say that they're perfect.
Right.
I mean, you still have to do your homework and make sure they're right for you and for the job that's on deck, if you will.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're out there, so that's definitely, one thing that you can do.
Right.
And also look at other work that they've completed and ask those homeowners if they're satisfied with the work that was performed.
Yeah. And we've got great, different companies, but there are some that we don't have, like electricians and things like that we don't have as far as show partners. What other new laws are you seeing out there?
So if
Milly?
you're a commuter, this is something that Ron DeSantis signed off on, and I thought was a pretty good deal, that the law will credit commuters for 50% of their tolls if they record at least 35 toll trips per month. So obviously it's not going to benefit tourists, but for commuters that are out there driving the interstates every day to go to work, because people were complaining that, for example, they're on the Selman, or they're complaining over in Orlando, they're on 417 or whatever the situation is. And, like on that stretch of 417, I think if you do the whole toll,
right,
you're probably looking at almost $12 each way.
Wow.
If you go the whole, I mean, that adds up. So now at least you're getting 50% of that back if you're logging in, if you have the what is it, transponder or whatever they call it on your car.
Yep.
Yeah, the Sun Pass, and it will record. And if you're doing that and you have an account established with them, it'll credit you back 50% of your tolls. So that really helps commuters out that are going to work or that have to do this. And also companies that have their trucks out on the road. And so
that's helpful.
It's very helpful. It's kind of a nice little law that that kind of went into effect there.
Love it.
Another one that went into effect is what they call Maya's Law, or Mia's Law, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Okay.
If you recall the case last year, I think it was last year or the year before, where the college student was murdered at the apartment complex because the apartment handyman, who had keys to all of the apartments, broke into the apartment while she was there and murdered her.
Oh, man.
And so now what it's requiring under this law is it is requiring apartment complexes to now run background checks on these individuals that they have, their employees that are working for them. And it defines, because people will say, okay, well, what's an apartment complex? Well, if 75% of your rentals or your stays are for a month or more, that's considered like a long-term rental, residential rental property.
Wow.
So then it would require you to run background checks on your employees to make sure that the handyman or whoever, because they give these people keys to the apartments.
Yep.
They go in, and here was this poor unsuspecting college student just sitting in her apartment doing whatever, and
sitting duck.
Yeah, and
ready to get, man. That just sounds like a why wouldn't we? Like, why would they not have to have background checks if they have keys to somebody else's apartment?
Well, and that's the thing, is I think there's been so many lawsuits out there about negligent security type issues that now they're trying to enact laws that will promote that, to put a little bit more of the burden on these apartment complexes, that they just can't hire whoever the drunk on the bench and say, hey, you're our handyman.
Here you go. You want a job? You got a job. Yeah. There you go.
So, it does put a little bit of burden for them to hire appropriate people that are actually handymen. Because, a handyman doesn't have to be licensed per se, or bonded or insured to work for the apartment complex. So there's no other way that we can verify that these people are hiring
Right.
are safe.
Yeah,
and
not sexual predators or whatever. I mean, they could be pretty much anything. And I know in some of the real estate transactions we have, it'll say specifically, it needs to be a licensed electrician or a licensed plumber, not just a handyman, because that's, unfortunately, sometimes they take shortcuts.
Oh, unfortunately, yes. And homeowners go along with it because, a lot of times because it saves them money.
Right. Yep, that's right.
And
everybody's tight right now, especially if you're renting. I mean, there was an article that we talked about this week, yesterday's show. This investment firm that has 115,000 apartments raised rents over 30% or more at some complexes. Actually, one here, at the Cove in Boynton Beach, it boosted rents by some units by as much as 93%. And so they almost doubled the rent on people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happening all over. I mean, unfortunately, we've seen kind of a bit of a decline in the real estate market,
right?
But yet the rental market is alive, well, booming, etc.
Exactly.
But people are having problems in these complexes. They're not being managed. Some of them are not being managed very well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take a quick break here. Tease us with the next law that we're going to talk about, Millie. Let's have a good tease for the other side.
Oh, well, I was just going to talk a little bit about some laws involving newborns, some testing that's going to be required on newborns.
Newborns, okay. On the other side of the break, Milly Athanason here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, plus our feel-good story of the day. Hundreds of pizzas delivered to the homeless in warming centers across Vancouver. We'll be right back here. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.
Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show. Hot listing for today, this segment, 8868 Indigo Trail. This is a beautiful property, completely remodeled, beautiful home here in Tampa Bay. It's 8868 Indigo Trail Loop in Riverview, Florida. That's Hillsborough County, 1,707 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath. Got a 2-story townhome in Osprey Lakes, gorgeous kitchen with updated features, his and her closets, walk-in closets, large open floor plan, large screened-in patio, and, of course, an easy commute to TIA, West Shore International Malls, the Tampa Zoo, and more. Beautiful property listing. I believe we have open houses going on there as well. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Buy dirt, find one you can't live without.
And you can buy some dirt from us as well. We got a dozen or so vacant land listings, so attention builders, developers, reach out. We'd love to talk to you about some of our hot listings that we've got here in beautiful Tampa Bay. We always like to tell you something positive in our feel-good story of the day.
Tell me something good.
All right, delivery drivers dropped off more than 100 hot pizzas to warming centers across Vancouver thanks to a local rider. As temperatures dropped to negative 20 degrees in Vancouver, homeless guests filled warming centers across the city, but these emergency centers generally do not offer meals to guests. Gabrielle Peters sent out a tweet asking for deals from pizza shops to help feed the homeless and staying in those centers. She says, quote, "I knew that there was nothing there really for people to eat. There was coffee and tea, but that was about it." Peters told the CDV. And they said, what if they were to send some pizzas? So she sent out a tweet there to boost a tweet from Mo Amir, a host on a popular Canadian podcast, brought in a steady stream of small day donations. Peters had suddenly raised more than $3,000, which was enough to provide 15 pizzas to 15 different warming centers, and they continue to get donations. So, yep, lots of pizzas, 100 different pizzas delivered to those folks in those warming centers. Feel good story of the day. I love that part of our show. And we've got attorney Milly Athanason back here in studio talking about these new laws for different areas of life. But this one you mentioned was newborns?
Yes. If a newborn fails a hearing test, then they're going to automatically now test them for CMV, which is a virus. And don't ask me how to pronounce that one, but it's a virus that it will cause growth and development problems in the future. And so now it's the most common of the problems that it causes is permanent hearing loss. So they're now saying that they're going to screen for it. It's mandated that they have to screen for it if a baby or an infant fails a hearing test. So
okay.
I would have thought that would have been protocol, but
right.
I guess if it's not protocol, it is now.
Yeah, there you go. Now it's there.
So, and another law of interest is that, a lot of times when you have like let's say, former judges, former politicians, that when they leave office, that there was a law that basically says that they're not allowed to become lobbyists for 2 years.
Okay.
Well, now we've extended that to 6 years.
Oh, good. That's in the state of Florida?
In the state of Florida.
Man, they need to do some of this stuff in D.C., man. I tell you, this omnibus bill they just passed, not to go down this tangent, but, hey, I've got the notes on it, might as well. So there's the U.S. government debt surpassed a record $31 trillion. It took 200 years in our country's history to rack up the first $1 trillion of debt. But today, the debt's soaring. In fact, Washington racked up the last $1 trillion of debt in only 8 months. So we got deficit spending is now parabolic. With each day passing, it's been destroying the savings of American public. And here's a quote from Alan Greenspan, the former head U.S. Fed. He says, he put it simply once, deficit spending is simply a scheme for the confiscation of wealth. That quote is from 1966, but it still holds true today. This is from a newsletter I sign up for about one of these gold buy gold type groups. But just while we're on this spending, I want to play this clip here about that omnibus bill that had lots and lots of pork. If you don't know what pork means in the political game, it means let's pile on favorites for what Millie was just referring to. Is a lot of times these senators or congressmen, whenever they're about to retire, they're going to throw in all these different bills of millions of dollars or billions of dollars for just these pet projects they have. So that's what we say when we mean pork. But here's what's in the omnibus
All
bill.
we had to do was have 41 Republicans stand up and say no. The last 4 times there was a shift in control of one of the houses of representation. The Congress, each of the last 4 times, did not pass an omnibus funding bill. The incoming party who was getting control had enough cojones to stand up and say, hell no, we just won an election. We're going to set the spending priorities. Now, look, there's reference to the uniparty. I got to say for the Republicans who supported this, I get the ones who are retiring, why they did, although it makes you wonder what the hell they were doing previously. But I don't understand anyone who cast a vote for this, and I think a lot of the voters are pissed off, and I think they have good reason to be pissed off.
Yeah, so the long and short, the uniparty in D.C., they're lobbyists, they're politicians, they're back and forth. We even saw some during this pandemic that went from government entities, CDC, et cetera, back to Pfizer, back to Moderna, like they're on these different boards. So anyways, that was a good law.
Yes.
Bring it back to that was a good law. So 6 years in Florida now, once you retire from some type of elected position, you cannot be a lobbyist for 6 years. Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yeah, I know.
Make it 12.
Right. Well, and because, people in the public, they believe these people when they get up and they start talking and preaching and stuff like that. So it does have an effect on the public.
It's commission-based advice.
It is. It really is.
You look at it, it's commission breath everywhere you turn.
Absolutely.
It's clickbait on the internet. Click here, with this dramatic headline, or it's, something along those lines. But I love this. I love this today. New laws. We're learning a lot about new laws from attorney Milly Athanason on the Consumer Quarterback Show. So the AOB benefits, that's assignment of benefits.
Yes.
Commuters, 50% of tolls can be reimbursed, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mia's law, that's great, for apartment complexes, whatever percentage. I think it's 75%, you said. Mm-hmm. Newborns have this hearing, if they have a hearing issue.
Yes, and there's also some changes to the money service business as well. We had these problems with the cryptocurrency. Some of the people that invested, it blew up and they lost all kinds of money in it. So that if you're an individual wanting to sell cryptocurrency, you don't have to have a money transmitter license to do so. But crypto commerce programs, on the other hand, they are required to have licenses. Okay. So right now, I know they're working on to get this industry more regulated.
Right. It's so new. There's so much to cover.
But they're really saying, and I don't know how you feel about this, but they're saying that, within the next decade, we're going to see much more cryptocurrency, and that everybody's going to be dealing in cryptocurrency, that eventually that you won't see actual cash, hands-on cash.
Well, that's what they want. They want us to go away from cash because they can control us more. They wanted, when I say they, I'm talking about that. They want that digital currency. Then it starts getting into the back of the Bible stuff for me. I'm a Christian, so I read the Bible, and that gets into scary territory, because they can cut you off. Just look at the Canadian truckers,
Right.
Remember they were standing up against this medical, and then Trudeau cuts off their bank accounts. Boom, there you go. What are you going to do if you don't have your money?
Exactly, and it's kind of like a Big Brother situation.
Exactly.
Which makes it very scary.
Yeah, Big Brother's too big already.
Yeah, right.
If it was up to me, we'd cut one of their legs off already. This is crazy. It's okay for them to spend, and look at all the cover-ups. Look at all the Twitter files coming out right now, and look at all the all this collusion in between. And it gets into that situation where when is enough, right? Like when do we the people? You see the shirts. We the people are pissed off. You see the bumper stickers, right?
Right.
I mean, we really are. But who's going to be held accountable?
This is the problem. People are blaming sometimes the wrong people.
Right.
And they're just they're so pissed off that they're going against each other.
Yes.
People are becoming much less tolerant of one another.
Right.
And, people aren't being as kind as they used to be. And I always say, it doesn't matter. Whatever the government's doing, it doesn't excuse you for not being a good human being.
Right. Be nice. That's right. The Mother Teresa type stuff. Yeah. Be nice and do what you can do and try to affect who you can affect. That sphere of influence too, like Covey used to say, right? You got this sphere of concern. I can't really do much about that, but I can control what I can control.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. You can control your reactions to things, and you can control your own behavior.
Yes.
And I think that's where people lack. They utilize some of these unfortunate acts of others as a license to go ahead and act poorly themselves.
Right.
And it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Take the high road.
Take the high road. I think it makes our country a better country. We're never going to get unified if people are just running. Because after a while, you're not going to remember who you're pissed off for or why.
Right, exactly.
Or whatever. It becomes difficult.
Yeah.
So
you got to simplify it. Especially these politicians, man. You look at the just basically they're coming out of office, going to a lobbyist position. We're out of time here, Millie, but how do you want folks to reach out? I know you've got that really cool phone number.
Yes.
What is it? 833-ASK-MILLY.
Ask Millie. So please call me.
833-ASK and then MILLY. 833-ASK-MILLY.
Absolutely.
Just ask her anything.
You got it. I'm
Give
here.
her a call. All right, good stuff.
All right, thank you for having me.
My
Brandon.
pleasure. My pleasure. And we want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another. Be a force for good in the community. And we'll see you next time right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Call Brandon Rhymes at 813-917-1894. That's 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show.